Welcome back to another Final Sector video/podcast, and today we are previewing the Japanese Grand Prix, the title deciding round where Max and Red Bull have taken
I
their
didn't realize
titles.
it's September and October. When does it normally happen?
You've obviously got their, 2024 championship celebrating gear on that they released off the back of their most dominant season ever. Yes, I guess we're doing this bit because it's early in the year, and yet we are heading to Japan. Feels a bit weird. Even in old times, it often happened near the end of the year and was a title decider.
Always been a title decider place, yeah.
Yes, even when it's been like the last round or the second last round, or when it's been a few rounds sooner, it seems to also come about as a title. I think the official F1 channel just released a video with like 13 titles decided
13 or
in Japan
14,
or something.
something absurd,
Yeah. So it's strange. We're coming here quite early. You might just say, well, it's just changing the track order. The weather might be a bit different, but as we'll get into, it's no, this is a track we come to where the cars are kind of sorted out, not many upgrades left. Actually, the cars are quite unrefined here. There's a few teams who'll be going, hey, we can bring a few upgrades here, right?
And in particular, it's an incredible track to test upgrades because it gives you a really good mix of everything. It's got really good low speed, medium speed, high speed. It's got long straights. It's tire deg. They can test all that stuff as well. It's probably one of the best tracks on the calendar to test upgrades. So the fact that it is this early and it's around the right round for teams to start bringing updates. I think. I don't think it's obviously been planned like that. Obviously, it's been planned around the fact that Australia's here and China's here, and they're like, let's move Japan here. But it kind of works out for the teams as well, where this is like, I think normally they would bring it at. I think a lot of teams were saying Miami or Imola. Like, those are the sort of big ones they would probably bring it at, but I think it's smart to bring it at somewhere like Suzuka because I feel like you've just got so much to gain from bringing updates, especially getting all 3 practice sessions as well. That's a big factor. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So, but yeah, I mean, you touched on weather. I'm sure you've got all the details of that.
Yeah, I have. I had a snapshot, I think, from about 12 hours ago, and of course, given that this is weather, it could change, but already this time of year was going to be cooler and generally a bit draftier. Even on the Friday, they're saying it's basically going to be like 14 to 15 degrees, which is lovely and not that much different on the Saturday. A decently high chance of rain on the Sunday. Last I saw was 50. I don't know if that's gone up or down.
They say, Saturday, Sunday, mainly Sunday, I think, is where it's more likely for rain to happen. But either way, it's going to be cool all 3 days. It's like 10 degrees cooler than it was at Japan last year. They haven't dropped the tyre compounds. They've still got the 3 hardest ones. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to that. It's different enough that I think the teams can't just sit there and be like, we know what's going to happen. Like,
copy paste.
They can't really do that. So, it'll be interesting to see how the teams adapt to all the different conditions.
I think you touched on, with this track being so dynamically different as well, that it's not just even the type of corners you have in terms of speed or whether they're short or long, but also if you even consider that they have, corners that kind of test the suspension and even the, like the, what do you call it? I don't know the word for it.
Lateral load.
Compression. The lateral load, the compression on the car. And corners, which is the complete opposite, where the car actually is anti-compressed, almost negative camber corners.
There is a lot of off camber corners. That's a good point.
There's on and off on both extremes.
It's just it's a complete circuit, isn't it? Like, it is the most complete circuit on the calendar. It just is.
Yeah. It's so as I said, it'll be good. I guess in more recent years, the title has more or less been decided, but this is earlier and teams may be more willing to take, a gamble either on strategy or on setup, or, there could be, again, we've seen how close this fight is for the bottom 5 teams. Could be a chance for some of them to get up there, especially as, even if we look last year and also at the trend of some of the cars from the last few races, some of them maybe not looking as strong. I guess we're looking at a Mercedes where if the past few races anything to go by, they might really struggle here, and they might struggle to even get some okay points here. Because that Sector 1 looks like hell?
Yeah. Speaking of
at a circuit where last year McLaren, in comparison, was very strong, and if this is the trend we saw like in Saudi. Yeah, anyway, go on with your point,
I was just going to say, like, I remember seeing a comment about Aston Martin as well, and they were also scared of Sector 1, mainly for their tyre wear issues.
Yeah.
Because they've been struggling with that, which I haven't seen. There's a few teams bringing updates and upgrades, and I don't think Aston was one of them, so they obviously don't have anything... At least, unless you found something more recent, but I didn't see anything.
It's not uncommon for teams to not everyone goes ahead of time. This is
and
what we're
announces
bringing,
it.
What we're doing. You can imagine every team might bring something minor here. Some of them may bring something major and just not said anything, but enough have said something that we wouldn't be surprised if everyone pops up with something. But
Aston, I think they said they were worried looking at that first sector. Like, that's going to kill our tyre wear. Being that it is such a complete circuit, it's gonna really expose cars that don't have a complete car, that don't have the complete package. You look at the teams that kind of do have it together. You know, Red Bull, obviously, they have been pretty dominant here the last 2 years. Ferrari obviously look like they have it way more together this year. You would expect them to be strong. And as you say, McLaren were strong here last year as well, and their car looks... maybe not on exactly the same level as it was last year, but you would expect them to do well here as well. And then you have everyone else. Whether you have teams like a Williams or a Sauber or a Haas or whatnot fighting with the Mercedes and the Astons, it could happen. I don't think that Mercedes and that Aston will be very strong here. I think they'll be definitely sort of scrambling to get the last sort of 4 points places. But you never know. We might be surprised.
And it often feels like a longer race here too. It's not one where you can kind of just... It's interesting because it has so many complex corners and it can be a little hard to overtake, but if you do have those significant disadvantages, generally cars still do overtake here. That DRS is quite powerful. That run onto the back straight, you really need a solid car because you come out of that last corner or second last corner, that little chicane, so slow that you can really gain on someone if you've just got a better car, better tire wear, etc.
Even onto the back straight before 130R as well. Like it's true. You see a lot of overtakes there.
We already mentioned upgrades. I mean, what has been confirmed? Well, I say confirmed. I will go over what I know has been confirmed. Alpine have basically said they do have a new complete front wing and slight weight reduction. Generally, one of their pain points that they had coming to this year was that they had a first version of their car which failed their crash tests, and to fix it, they basically had to add a whole load of weight to it. So it seems they now have a second version of their car which has reduced some of that weight, which of course will help them overall. And of course, a new front wing, well, it could do wonders if you bring something magical, right? We've already seen the start of the year with Mercedes wing concept and others. Then they might have had a bit of time to try and mimic and improve to get a little bit of time there. Their car is also returning to its black and blue livery. Not that you'd notice that it's been the BWT livery, because it's nowhere near as stark in contrast.
It's also never on the camera.
Because
they're always at the back.
That's good. You're right, so that's why we double won't notice. Ferrari apparently are bringing a small change in rear suspension. Again, not surprising given this circuit that we're going to. Whether they're doing it just because they want it to buff it up for this circuit, or just because it is a good circuit to get it in to test it. A bit of both, maybe. There may be a few other parts. That's all that I saw on what they are bringing. I don't know if you saw anything else.
There's potential they may have more, because they're trying to fast track their upgrades. A lot of their big upgrade was planned for, I think they said Imola. But they wanted to try and fast track things for Suzuka. So I don't know the specifics, but I know there's talk about their side pods and the big scoop things that they're potentially trying to beef up, and so we might see that change here. I haven't seen anything confirmed though, so but if you see something like that, I wouldn't be surprised, because it's something they're going to bring in the future anyway. So
and the other one that there's pretty heavy rumors on is on Red Bull. I don't know. I guess I didn't check enough to see if they fully confirmed they're bringing something, but there seems to be heavy word that this is actually a pretty significant upgrade. At least it has the heaviest emphasis on rumors compared to other rumors going around in terms of upgrades. Whether this is the quote-unquote full zero pod, whether this is just a refinement of the slim pod, we're yet to see, but
I think it's just
you can
a
imagine it might be.
I think the zero pod thing. I remember I was watching a video and there was apparently the person that leaked the they're going to the zero pod thing at the start of the season come Suzuka was fired from their position because of that. So from everything I've heard since then, it's like it is going to be a difference in that side pod because they're making upgrades to all their cooling system, and that's where all of that is. So if they're doing that, then it kind of has to change with it. So, but from everything I've seen, I don't think they're doing the zero pod. But it's all kind of rumored. And I think
we don't know until they start to turn up and they unpack the cars.
They even asked Max in an interview, and he's just like, "Yeah, you'll see it." Like that's all he said. Yeah, it's like, "Yeah, you'll see it when it shows up."
And I guess it is slightly concerning in a way, just for in general, if we think they might be strong here. Look, I mean, they had a rocky Australia, and even if Max didn't retire, there was still a question mark on if they genuinely did just have, an easy P1, considering the struggles that Checo went through even before he had, some general issues at the second half of the race. But at a circuit like this, again, history says they've been very strong.
Yep.
The car in general shows it should be strong.
Yep.
And if they're further refining V2 of this brand new concept, which they only just launched a few races ago, so they've probably still got plenty of room to refine it.
Yep.
It could be pretty deadly here. And you could even go, well, it's going to be weather, but then you remember Max is in that car, and that will probably extend it even further. So maybe we don't want any weather.
Yeah, true. That is true.
At least it gives some talking points, and I guess is a reason for us to keep connected with practice, and particularly from our side, because this is one of the few races that is more friendly to our time zone.
We're really front-loading them this year.
Quite nice. Yeah. We are. We're getting them out the way, and then we're gonna stop watching and come back next year. Why bother?
That's it. We just couldn't record and do anything. That was crazy. Yeah. Right after China. Yeah.
I think the other note I have is that I know I didn't actually check how many, but I know there is at least one junior doing an FP1 session here.
I think it's just one that I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is Ayumu Iwasa, who will be taking over Daniel Ricciardo's seat for practice one. He, for those of you who don't know, was in Formula 2 the last 2 years and did quite well there, was and still is a Red Bull junior, moved over to the Super Formula this year, and he's doing fairly well, a la that kind of Liam Lawson and other Red Bull junior route. But he himself is also actually from Japan. So actually, RB will have 2 Japanese drivers in free practice one, which I guess is good publicity for them, given
marketing.
they're in Japan.
Yep.
And gives him a good shot because he is a genuine, Red Bull driver. I think if you didn't have someone like Lawson in the picture, he would almost be your front-running candidate, other than the other current F2 drivers doing well. Yeah. So, as much as this is a good session for him, his goal is still to go into F1. This actually probably has quite a lot of weight on it for him, both behind the scenes and what he does there, and in practice. It is just practice, but I'm sure there's things you can do to show that you've got, a one-up, or at least you're at the same level of a Lawson or otherwise, right? Quite definitely. A lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, especially given the volatility of the driver market at the moment. I think when you have what is probably going to be one chance, because you would expect someone like a Hadjar to probably be in for the second one of the year.
Yeah.
So this is probably Iwasa's only chance to make any sort of impression. So I think he's going to make something count. But
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen any other drivers or any other teams.
No. I saw some rumors of some drivers like setting up for tests, but like outside tests. I think there
Antonelli,
doing some running at Red Bull and like an older Mercedes and things like that.
He's doing some running at Red Bull
Ring,
and
doing some running at the Red Bull Ring.
Oh God! Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's already they've already pinched him.
Yeah,
add another Red Bull driver into the mix. We didn't have enough already. Red Bull Ring, I should have said. And to top it up, there is no doubt going to be plenty of conversation in the media, in the interviews about, I guess, drivers and driver etiquette, considering we both had in Saudi the Magnussen drama items, blocking, defending, and now the Alonso incident, which actually did get heavily penalised. We haven't really had that formal chat from it, because I guess when that penalty was applied, they'd already done some of the interviews, blah, blah, blah. So
Yes.
no doubt that will fill up the media day with discussion on that, and I guess we'll see what comes on from that, right? I'm sure Alonso will just go, well, I think this and that, but reality is there might be a rule here or there tweaked or some clarification or something, and we'll just have to see what comes out.
Wouldn't be surprised, I've got a couple of other notes as well.
Yeah, go for it. I'm glad you found more.
That's fine. I mean, pretty minor things. Williams said they're confident they'll have the chassis repaired for Japan as well, so they'll have both cars, unless something drastic happens. They should pretty confidently have it. Sauber, Bottas did say in an interview that Sauber might be bringing upgrades. I assume it's probably to fix their wheel nuts. Their cross-threading wheel nuts. I did see
some weary words. They were saying they might miss their target, which would suck. So I think that it sounds like they're on the
pit stop for your boy Valtteri.
It's bad. It sounds like they're on the bubble for it. Like they could have it, but it didn't seem like they were saying, yes, we've solved it. They were saying, we're hoping to have solved it. If they had solved it by now, they'd say, we're going to bring the fix. They're going, we're hoping to bring the fix. It's like, well, are you still hoping? It's Wednesday night.
It's not great, is it? And the only other upgrade I did see is RB looking to bring a floor upgrade as well. I think this is their first major upgrade, so they're bringing a new floor, which, again, aero circuit, the floor, if it works, then you'd expect them to be... Mm-hmm. I think they're probably... You'd have to say they're probably looking at challenging... Mercedes and Aston, if they decide to, if they are as weak as maybe we predict them to be, RB should be licking their chops and being like, "Hey,
I think so.
We can fight these guys now." Well, at least one of them. The other ones remains to be seen. But yeah,
true.
Nice to see them fighting with Aston and Mercedes. That'd be good.
It would. Yeah. It would, and puts even more pressure, I guess, on both of them to perform. It might be a pretty damning weekend for one of those drivers, or maybe it was a flash in the pan for Yuki. I guess it's a good chance for him to solidify that. I mean, he did fairly well last year. He and Lawson both did pretty strong and had a good battle, so maybe that bodes for something, but we'll have to see. I was just going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if every team brought something here. I sometimes feel like we don't ever hear about like Haas, you never hear about in advance, and they just turn up with something pretty big, so something will come from them, particularly considering, I guess, both that they launched with less than they wanted to, so they might not be that far away from something new. Maybe they're buoyed on from their successes over what they expected, or what they told the media at least. We'll have to see. But I guess that's all the news we've got, so we can go into our predictions. Of course, caught a bit with our pants down last week. Not that I guess anyone could have really predicted what we saw.
Yeah, not quite.
Despite that, you still continue to gain your lead this year. It's getting a little worrying, but there's still time to rise, as they say.
Still time. We're gonna get to 3 rounds before the end.
This is round 20 or something. I forgot we're at the end of the year. Damn it. No.
We're gonna get to 3 rounds before the end. You're gonna be 45 points behind. You're like, there's still time. There's still time.
The math still works out.
The Kyle maths works out. That's
bonus round. Just 20 bonus questions. So yes, we both basically got a point for having only, let's say we both got one driver only right in terms of the top 3, which was Leclerc in the top 3, but I had him in 3rd, which was only worth half a point, and you still somehow got him in 2nd because you're just that good and a genius, so you get the full point.
Man. I appreciate it. I'm glad someone's finally recognized my genius.
We did not get P17, which was George Russell. That was a tricky one to guess.
Oh, yeah.
We both did think that maybe it's going to be retirement. Could have been, somewhat heavy. I guess we say heavy in this day and age means like more than 2 cars is a heavy retirement race. Yeah, when that used to be an average Sunday.
Yeah. That used to be like, nothing really happened. It's pretty reliable this weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, like 5 would retire. Not bad.
Yeah.
So that puts you on a total of 7 and myself on 4. Oh dear, I've got some work to do.
No, that's 3 points is nothing. I thought it was going to be more than that the way you were talking.
Well, 3 can be quite... Yes, it could just be... But the thing is, even if I get a point back here and there, it's not like if I just get a solid weekend, it might, you still might cash out and only gain a little bit.
Takes 1 week if one of us decides to go bold and that pays off, or,
It's true. We do need to get our random number.
Yes.
It will be...
15th.
We did that one already.
15th.
11th. Have we done 11th? Wow, do you put your money where your mouth is?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I was literally talking about how. Yeah.
It's like, nah, they'll be lower than that. Well, I don't want to commit to it now.
Christ. I'll say Stroll.
Stroll, that's a good pick. That's not bad.
I'm kind of sitting on the fence there because I'm like, if a RB driver does jump ahead, Stroll's probably the one that's gonna just dip below the old points there. So
maybe I have to commit to the bit, and I'll put a Hamilton in there. Let's do it. Let's go.
Huge.
We do need to go over our top 3 now. I guess there's a few ways you could put this.
I think, considering the start of the year where you said, it's can't just pick the same 3 every race. We need to just give up on the predictions. It doesn't matter. I feel like this race in particular, but just in general, I think there's a little bit more thought that goes into it now with both Ferrari drivers being really competitive, with McLaren sort of creeping in a little bit. Like I think before long you'll just see McLaren will be there. I think it's not going to be quite like last year where they're just boom, they're right at the front. I think this is going to be like steady race by race. They're just going to edge closer and closer, and then all of a sudden they're as fast as Ferrari. So I think you have to kind of very much consider all 4 of those drivers along with the 2 Red Bull drivers for the podium now.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I have got Max in P1, as is tradition. You can't bet against him here. You just
not
can't.
At this stage.
No. So I assume we've gone the same then. The second and third though, I mean, you look at Checo. He had I would say a subpar performance in Australia.
That's good on you.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here. Subpar performance in Australia. His last time out at Suzuka was a disaster, let's be honest. With the both Ferraris on, like, they're really confident at the moment, and I feel like closer than they have been in the past. Can you put him on the podium? I think you have to consider that he might not be on the podium, which is what I've done. And I've got both Ferraris in P2 and P3. And I've gone Sainz P3 and Leclerc P2. I think Leclerc's...
okay.
I still back Leclerc. I know Sainz has had a great start to the season. I think Leclerc will bounce back. I think this track's really strong for him as well. Given what we saw last year, it was the track that sort of turned around his fortunes last year when he was having sort of a down period compared to Sainz. So I think coming to a track that he enjoys, I think he could very easily be P2 here.
It's hard to bet wrong on what you've got. I think the point on the Ferraris, especially coming out of Melbourne, although Leclerc was very happy for the team and for Sainz, you could tell he was just like, it should be me there. Like, no, he was just like, he was like, you could just tell internally he was almost just like beating himself up, going, this shouldn't be the story. This shouldn't be happening. And if anything, that will surge him onwards on this. And I agree with Perez. I think even if he does his classic, maybe struggles to quali here, especially here where qualifying is actually pretty tricky for, we say for a lot of circuits now, qualifying is tricky, but I think especially here where the limit is really hard to know, and you've got to be so confident on that limit at every corner because there's so much apex speed that you've got to commit to, right? Yeah. And 10Ks higher or 5Ks higher somewhere can save you so much time, right?
Yeah, and when the fact that this track is pretty lengthy as well, and because it is so complex, one tiny mistake is like that, just you lose a couple of tenths, a few tenths, which is easy enough
even
to do
if you're just reserving a little bit each corner, that adds up so quick. Unlike Australia where there's maybe like 3 or 4 really important corners, but you just do the rest all right, you're only like 2 tenths behind.
That's it.
So I would also agree that maybe he's not going to qualify that well, and even if he does have a good race car here, maybe he does struggle to get ahead. He burns his tyres too much. He gets stuck in traffic, safety car, weather, blah, 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 all those things. I don't want to commit to it either.
Okay.
But maybe figuring that you would go the Ferrari route, because if I did the same, well, then I'm never going to catch up, am I? And maybe if I just get so far behind, then it will be a great story to see my great rise after the season is all done.
Playing this game.
I have maybe changed over the Ferraris for maybe another team that we've talked about that would do well.
Wow.
So we'll put the McLarens in there. Why not? They did look probably at their strongest almost here last year.
Yeah.
And I feel like even if their results in Australia weren't really wanted to be, I also didn't think that was one of their greatest tracks. And they still seemed... It's not like they were just languishing pace because they were struggling. I think just their car was just like at its maximum. But both drivers still seemed pretty happy there.
Yeah.
So I thought Stafford. I'll put them in here.
I can see a world. Order? Yeah.
Oh, maybe think what order. Oh, maybe you go, well, Piastri for the start of the year kind of had a one-up, but then you go, at a circuit like this, I think this is a Norris circuit, so I think I've got to put Norris ahead. I think, especially in qualifying, this is maybe one where he can show he's still got that qualifying gut. Maybe start very close to the top and then go from there.
Piastri out-qualified him last year.
Yes, but new year, new Norris. This is the new Norris.
Okay.
After he threw away that godlike Abu Dhabi lap.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, I missed that conversation.
If he's what conversation?
The new year, new Norris. I missed that.
Oh, I see. No, that was between me, myself, and the mirror.
Lando. And Lando himself.
Lando, yes. Lando actually appeared on that show that I forget what her name does. I'm sorry. The chicken shop.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Amelia.
Yes, yeah, I did see.
I watched a few of those. She's extremely funny, and the fact she did it with Lando, and Lando was unsure of how to come across as a human being was delightful to watch. So it was good.
That's one way of putting it.
So go watch that. But yes, look, we've babbled it long enough. We wanted to keep this quick, and yet there's a lot to talk about with Japan. We are excited. I am excited. Yes. Michael is excited. You guys better be excited. Let us know what you are excited for this weekend. Hopefully we get something interesting to watch, and it's not just all about off-track drama and who's the next team to have signed Yui and what's Christian Horner in trouble for, and it's actually some good on-track battling racing drama and news. We'll have to see.
Which car is James Vowles taking from Logan Sargent this week?
Exactly. Yeah. All good. That's us out. Enjoy the weekend, and be sure to come back for our debrief after the weekend is said is done. But until then, take care all.
Bye-bye.